Satya Dhamma Reflection on May 23rd, 2022. Don't be obsessed to be specific with just looking, seeing and knowing. That is narrow. Don't be so specific with just the mind. Disregard with everything. Uninvolved with disregard with everything simultaneously, so that there will not be uneasiness. It's impossible to be specific with anything whatsoever. It creates uneasiness because that is the delusive attachment. The attribute of attempting to be specific is the attribute of the samudaya, the delusive attachment. Uninvolved with disregard or not disregard simultaneously with everything. Disregard means everything. Uninvolved is meant for everything. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, simultaneously with everything. Don't be deludedly being specific with just stillness or indifference. It will be blocked, and that will create uneasiness. That which is not penetrating through, which is not brightening. That which is unbound, that which is incalculably. Therefore, disregard cannot be stuck with just itself. Otherwise, it will create uneasiness. Uninvolved with disregarding right away simultaneously with everything. There is no need to be specific with anything because it's gonna create limitations. Even expansiveness has to be beyond it. That is boundless. To be limited with certain extent, it's gonna be more narrow and it's gonna be more uneasy. Just like staying within limited place. The attempt to be specific is the narrowness in itself. The attempt to dwell within oneself is the narrowness within itself. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself will purify the attempt to dwell, to fixate. Uninvolved with disregarding is the unbound. It will not be only with just disregarding or not. It will have nothing to do with karmic habits, child. It will have nothing to do with characteristics or habits. It will have nothing to do with any certain types of the mind or the heart. Uninvolved with disregarding is as such. It is unbound. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. It will not be only disregarding or not, uninvolved or not. It is unbound. The Anupap, the mighty force of helping through unwinding and releasing, helping through purifying through the emptiness. Disregard even from the disregard itself constantly, child. So that you will not be only with enjoyment and drifting away. Disregard is not related to itself. The disregard is not about anything within itself. Well to conclude through Nirodha and Nibbana, so that it's possible to help end for samsara onwards constantly. Disregard even from the disregard itself, child. The disregard that is not relevant to itself. The disregard is not about anything within itself. With this, one will not be obsessed with just stillness or not, indifferent or not, thinking or not. Well to conclude through Nirodha and Nibbana. So that we can continue to help end for samsara. To be obsessed with just certain type of mind in this way and that way, it becomes samsara in itself. To be obsessed with just thoughts, recalls, emotions and feelings, knowing more, knowing less, that is the obsession with just knowing, deluded to knowing without conclusion of Nirodha and Nibbana, becoming samsara on one's own, within itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself, so that there will be no concern with just knowing or not knowing thoughts, recalls, emotions and feelings. Not to be concerned with just karmic habits, characteristic traits, yes or no, liking or disliking, being obsessed with just delusive attachments, habits of delusive attachments. Well with Nirodha, well to conclude through Nirodha and Nibbana, so that it's possible to bless the beings. Otherwise, one will just become samsaras beings, being obsessed with just something within goodness and badness, being obsessed with significance and meanings and involvement. Let's conclude through Nirodha. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, the disregard is not itself, child. Disregard is not relevant to itself. This has nothing to do with traits, habits, or the mind and the heart in whatever ways. Disregard from the disregard itself, this is very good helping in ceasing and ending for one another. Don't be obsessed to be preoccupied with characteristic traits and habits. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, simultaneously with the mighty force of the brightening and awakening, incalculably, boundlessly. Go ahead in the way that is boundlessly, incalculably. Don't be stuck with just being sluggish and casual. There is significance and meanings that remains. That's why it seems to be drifting. That which is not the disregard itself. The disregard is not itself, incalculably and boundlessly, continuously, so that it will continue to purify through the extinction. Continue in the way that is incalculably and unbound. Don't be stagnated within stillness and extinction for the sake of oneself. Don't be just being peaceful. Go on boundlessly, incalculably, through Nirodha, through Nibbana, for samsara. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself. Go on in the way that is incalculably, in the way that is boundlessly, so that purification of the extinction will also be incalculably and boundless. Move on for the blessing in the way that is incalculably and boundlessly. Disregard even from the disregard itself in the way that is incalculably and boundlessly, child, so that it will bypass the specificity, so that it will penetrate through all that specific. Uninvolved with disregarding, child. continue to purify incalculably and boundlessly, helping through unwinding, releasing, purifying through the emptiness in the way that is incalculably and boundlessly. Don't be just preoccupied with traits, habits, thoughts, recalls, emotions, and feelings. Don't be obsessed to become samsara all by oneself. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, continue in the way that is incalculably and boundlessly, so that it will not be just ending, instead help ending for samsara as well, so that there will be purification through the extinction and the emptiness for samsara altogether, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. This will not be only about liberation, help through the liberation altogether in samsara, incalculably and boundlessly. Uninvolved with disregarding has to be in the way that is incalculably and boundlessly. Go on. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Go on in a way that is incalculably and boundlessly. So that it will not be only about ending, instead it will be helping samsara through ending as well. Then it will not be only about extinction, instead it will help samsara through the extinction as well. This will not only about nothing is here, instead it will be purification of the emptiness altogether. go beyond, widen out, and simultaneously conclude through Nirodha, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Then the opening widely will be beyond itself, so that it will be beyond boundaries, incalculably and boundlessly, in helping through unwinding and releasing, in helping through purification of the extinction and the emptiness. Open up widely and ultimately in the way that is uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, in the way that is disregard even from the disregard itself. This will be beyond opening up widely. It's called boundlessness. It will end all the limitations to certain extents naturally. Then it will be purification of extinction in the way that is extensive, in the way that is incalculably and boundlessly. Open up senses and sense perceptions as usual. This is not about entrapping anything, because all things are not entrapped in themselves, in their nature. This is not about controlling or pressing on anything whatsoever. Uninvolved with disregarding or not all the same with everything. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, all the same. Simultaneously with the opening widely. Then the purification of the emptiness will be incalculably and boundlessly. Uninvolved with the disregarding, open up widely and fully, then naturally it will be boundless in purifying. The anupap of helping to unwinding and releasing is the normal essence. This is not in the way of projecting, determining, uprising, not in the way of using the mind in this way and that way. This is only just about karmic connections. Involved with the disregard, absolutely. Then the opening will be fully all by itself. This is not about using the mind towards all things. How can it be purification of emptiness here? Uninvolved, even within the uninvolved itself, absolutely. Disregard is not even itself, absolutely. This is the anupap of the purification through the extinction, and the emptiness will be also fully and absolutely. Don't be obsessed with using the mind towards all things, significance and meanings in involvement. It is only about karma and karma. How can there be helping samsara through the blessing? They only just karma and karma. The obsession with just significance and meanings. Let's not use the mind to mind. No is not even no itself. This will be by the essence of purification of the extinction and the emptiness naturally. This is not about using the mind towards all things. No is not even no itself, absolutely and constantly. Be obsessed to deludedly dwelling within the body and the mind too much. There is only just delusion to fixate, to cling, to dwell. Disregard is not itself constantly child and absolutely, so that it will purify all the delusion to fixate, to cling, to dwell, to the living life. Disregard more constantly. The disregard is not itself. Constantly. Use this essence constantly. The disregard is not about anything within itself. Constantly. It's not non-attachment itself. Absolutely. Keep on opening eyes, ears. Then there will be purification of the extinction and emptiness in the way that is incalculably and boundlessly, naturally. Uninvolved with the awakening itself, uninvolved with the disregard itself, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, absolutely, simultaneously with awakening and brightening, simultaneously with all things and all elements, then naturally it will be helping through unwinding and releasing in the way that is incalculably and boundlessly. It's impossible to help through unwinding and releasing because there is just only the emphasis on using the mind in determining, obliging, in the way of projecting. This is impossible to help through unwinding and releasing. There's only more of using the mind, emphasis on the mind, unable to help through unwinding for one another. There's only just intentions towards one another, uninvolved with the disregard itself, child. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. It will have no conditions of creating aggravation towards anything whatsoever. That which has nothing to do with having intentions or not. It will not aggravate anything. It will not press down on anything. Once the Anupap that is powerful with the purification towards all things, then it will be tremendous Anupap, involved even within the involved itself. Will help through unwinding and releasing in the way that is absolute. Helping through unwinding and releasing. Without opening, it's impossible to bless samsara. You just have to be stuck within your kuti, within your residence. To be sitting and lying down with just looking, seeing and knowing. Is not yet unable to disregard from the disregard itself, that is like guarding the stillness and indifference, guarding one's own living place. It's impossible to bless beings. Sinking in stillness and indifference is like guarding it on and on. The disregard is not itself absolutely child, simultaneously with awakening and brightening. Then it will be boundless in purification to the emptiness and extinction all by itself. This is the kind of Nirodha and Nibbana of compassion and great compassion for the blessing. To be stuck with just disregarding or not, you will just guarding as such on and on. Going anywhere, just going for sightseeing. Going anywhere, just being deluded to looking, seeing and knowing. Deludedly appreciating or not appreciating. This is the addiction with sightseeing. Going anywhere as such, impossible to bless beings. If unable to involve with the disregarding, or even enable but is still not yet enabled to bless samsara, not sufficient to purify oneself, therefore it's also impossible to be sufficient to purify samsara, being stuck with just involvement or uninvolvement. Unable to involve even within the involved itself, not sufficient to bless beings. Returning to sink within oneself, to sink within stillness and indifference as usual, becoming realm of existence as usual, not purifying realm of existence, not dissolving the maintaining and sinking, only becoming samsara beings, high level of beings, medium levels of beings, low realms of beings. This is being stuck with just being realms of existence. If unable to involve with the disregard itself, it's impossible to purify the knower and the seer. One will just be blocked with just seer and knower, and it will be blocked with just the samabat, within the single-mindedness, being obsessed to just disregard within the disregard itself, unable to disregard from the disregard itself, it's going to be blocked. Only just stillness within seeing, looking and knowing. This is blocked within single-mindedness and samabat. Disregard from the disregard itself absolutely in the way that is incalculably and boundlessly without choosing anything whatsoever, whether it is internal or external or anything, not choosing whether it is the world or Dhamma. It is not about choosing. To choose anything, it is becoming samudaya in itself. Samudaya in itself it's still suffering within itself and the cause of suffering in itself. Disregard is not itself enable it. Enable to disregard from the disregard itself. If one enable to disregard from the disregard itself, one will not be blocked within single-mindedness, within contemplation, within any conditions. One will not be blocked with just stillness in seeing and knowing. Unable to uninvolve even within the uninvolved itself, disregard from the disregard itself, so that there will be no limitations, which is continuing in the way to purify through the emptiness and extinction. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, enable it. Disregard even from the disregard itself, all the same. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, all the same. There will be purification all by itself. It will be beyond narrowness or extensiveness. However it is, it will be all by itself, beyond it. If proceeding in a way that is uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, it will not be a blockage with anything whatsoever. Whether it is, however it is extending or narrowing, there will be great anupap, mighty force of the unwinding. Proceeding in the way with uninvolved, even within the uninvolved itself, it will dissolve the habit of fixation. From being limited, it will be more boundless naturally.